Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Recovery After Stroke podcast. My new book about stroke recovery is called The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened 10 Tools for Recovery and Personal Transformation, and is now available to purchase on Amazon. The book tells the story of 10 stroke survivors and the steps they took that got them to the stage in their recovery where, from a personal growth perspective, stroke transformed into one of the moments that could be reflected on as being filled with many opportunities for growth and personal transformation, and eventually led them to be able to say that stroke was the best thing that happened to them. To learn more about my book, you can go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book. This is episode 292, and in a slight change of format and to really bring home the need for additional physical therapy beyond what is prescribed by doctors after a stroke when patients leave hospital, I am joined by Anne Sertel, a stroke survivor who was 73 in 2020 when she experienced a hemorrhagic stroke, and her physical therapist, Molly Hopkins, who has been working closely with Anne, helping her improve her deficits, despite what doctors were telling Anne when she was being charged from hospital, and that she shouldn't expect much recovery after discharge. Anne Sertel and Molly Hopkins, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this is a little bit of a different version of the podcast, and the reason being is because the two of you are intimately connected, not only in Anne's recovery, but also in a former part of life, and you came together and it was meant to be. And I'll leave it at that for now. But first, if I could ask you, Anne, can you tell me a little bit about what happened to you?
I really don't remember what happened to me, so I have to tell you what my husband has told me happened to me.
Is he a reliable source?
Oh, he's very reliable. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So on July the 6th, 2020, Nick had, or no, I had gotten up. Is that right, Nick?
I got to move first.
Nick got up and then I got up, but Nick didn't hear me moving around in the house. So he started looking for me and he found me in our guest bathroom on the floor, wedged in between the toilet and the bathtub.
Uh-huh.
And he tried to get me up, and he couldn't get me up, and I was just babbling.
You
And
know, that's
then,
not the first time I've heard of somebody experiencing a stroke and then being lodged between the toilet and a wall, or between the toilet
oh,
and the bathtub. That's not uncommon. And
hmm.
do you have any recollection as to anything that led up to that? Do you recall being in the toilet or getting to the toilet or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't remember getting out of bed or anything.
Uh-huh. And what kind of stroke did you have?
I hope I say this right. Thalmic hemorrhagic. Is that right, Molly?
It's a thalmic hemorrhagic stroke.
Thalmic hemorrhagic.
Okay. So you've had a bleed into the brain.
Yes.
And was there an underlying cause? Do you know, did anybody get to tell you what the underlying cause was, why the blood vessel burst?
High blood pressure.
Uh-huh. High blood pressure that you were aware of or unaware of?
I knew it was high, but not that high. I
Were
knew it was
you
elevated. I guess elevated is a better word.
right? And were you taking medication at the time?
I was not.
Is that because you were being naughty or it's because it wasn't prescribed?
Wasn't prescribed.
Okay. So it was kind of something that you were aware of, you were being monitored, but it wasn't something that that anyone thought was serious at that stage. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And after you were found, how does the story go? What ended up happening? How did you end up in hospital?
Well, Nick found me and then he called 911, and they came to our home and took me to Akron City Hospital. And we live in an area that has a lot of medical facilities. And I said to the driver, why don't you just take me, to one of these places? And he said, oh, no, ma'am, you need level 1 trauma. You are in bad shape. So they took me to the hospital. And then when I got there, the neurosurgeon and his team were there already. So we didn't waste any time. And about an hour and a half after Nick found me, I was on the operating table.
And what
So
did they do? Did they go through your head or did they go through another part?
through my skull, I have a permanent shunt in my skull with a lever,
Uh-huh.
and the fluid or the blood or whatever needs to be drains down through my stomach.
Okay. So the surgery went well, and then you've come out of
Yes,
surgery and you were lacking some of your previous abilities. Were you suffering from some deficits?
yes. Oh, Nick tells me it took 3 surgeries to get this shunt in me and get it draining,
Uh-huh.
because at first they couldn't drain it fast enough. Is that right, Nick?
That's correct.
And so when the surgery was over with, um, I could talk. I've always been able to talk, but I couldn't walk. I was paralyzed on my left side, completely paralyzed. What else, honey?
Oh, I mean, that's the gist of it.
That's the gist of it.
So you needed rehabilitation.
Oh gosh, yes, lots of it.
And you ended up in a facility. How did you end up in the facility you were in?
Well, first I had at-home therapy, and I had physical, cognitive, and what was the other one?
Occupation.
And occupational therapy. And they would come 2 to 3 times a week for like 20 minutes or so and work with me. But after, I don't know, maybe a month or so, they said they couldn't help me anymore and that I needed to go to outpatient therapy. So we have a medical center just down at the end of our street, which has physical therapy. And so I started going there. Again, I went 2 to 3 times a week, 20 minutes each. And they worked with me, the same 3: cognitive, physical, and what's the other one, honey?
Speech.
And speech therapy.
But they didn't do any speech.
So, and I worked with them. Oh, it seemed like a long time that I went. Over a year I did that.
And
And then, I'm
when was
sorry,
the
go ahead.
stroke? Do you recall when the stroke was?
July the 6th, 2020.
Uh-huh. And did you have an awareness of how much time it was going to take for you to uh, get better or to rehabilitate? Did you have any
I did
idea?
not. No. And I've often thought about that. I wondered if I would be better off knowing it was going to take so long to get some kind of recovery or not. I don't know which one would be better.
So you
So
couldn't
I had,
you couldn't walk alone. You couldn't use your arm.
correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had every medical device you could imagine. I had a walker, cane, wheelchair, everything.
Yeah. And do you have some trouble now with your memory?
Yes. Like I don't remember hardly anything about that whole situation. And sometimes I have a hard time now when somebody tells me something, I don't remember it.
You don't remember that something occurred and they're telling you and they're filling in the gaps for you.
Yes, that's right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can relate to that. And somewhere in
Mm.
this picture, Molly, who's here also comes into the
Yes.
frames, and then she starts to get involved in your recovery. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right, let's swap to
She's
Molly.
been a wonderful help. Wonderful.
I do hear that. I do hear that, and she's blushing now. So let's see if we can get her to tell us how she's been wonderful. But before she tells us that, Molly, tell me a little bit about what you do, where you work, how you came to be at the organization that you're at.
I'm an athletic trainer at Wittenberg University in the sports medicine department. I came to WIT 12 years ago, and I work with a variety of different sports: women's soccer, women's volleyball, men's lacrosse, and men's volleyball. And essentially, also am an adjunct faculty member in the exercise science office, and this is our lab that I'm in currently. So, yeah, we are a wide variety of tools, so we have at our disposal.
And
So,
what's the point of your role? Now, I'm asking bluntly because
mhm.
I know nothing about like what a sports therapist does. What's the point of
Yeah.
that specific specialty?
So we're like an offshoot of physical therapists or physiotherapists in European countries, but athletic trainers work primarily with athletes. There are other offshoots, but that's our job. We take care of prevention, rehabilitation, you name it, acute care, chronic care, trauma. I deal with a lot of trauma. I deal with general medicine, primary care. So I
Trauma
deal with it
as a
all.
result of sports injuries that happened on the field?
Yeah, correct. If somebody essentially gets severely hurt, fractured bones, things like that, spine boarding, head injuries, I deal with it all. Neurological stuff, we deal with it too. So
So the point of it is to either rehabilitate people, get them healthier, or also get them back on the field.
yeah, we are pretty much we always call ourselves the point guard to sports medicine. You get hurt, we're going to see you the first day and we're going to be with you until you return to the field.
Okay. So your awareness about the way that the body moves and what each muscle is supposed to do and how it's supposed to engage is really
Mhm.
important in that, I suppose, in the diagnosis, trying to understand what the person's lacking and then also trying to understand how to influence the recovery so that the movement happens the way that it used to happen before, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I actually teach biomechanics class,
Uh-huh.
and and I literally analyze gaits, people's walking, people's running. I watch them move. I change their shoes to make them run faster, better. We use ground reaction forces. We have really cool tools here that we utilize to look at people's walking gaits and why they're not using their muscles appropriately, and if there's muscle imbalances. I mean, you name it, we can do it. We can look at it. We look at ultrasounds, we look at MRIs, we try to piece together the story. And
Okay, so
essentially that's what
go
we
ahead.
do.
Yeah, go ahead. All right. So I was going to say,
Yeah.
like, so it sounds like what you do, biomechanics, is something that perhaps I've not yet come across in rehabilitation for people after stroke.
Mhm.
And that is interesting to me, right? So
Yeah.
when I imagine that there would have been a little bit of what did you call it?
Biomechanics.
Biomechanics.
Biomechanics. I imagine there would have been a little biomechanics in the training of my occupational therapists
Sure.
and my physical therapists when I went
Mhm.
to see them. But as far as specializing in that space, I'm not sure that they were doing that. I do remember my outpatient therapist for my walking when I had to learn how to walk again
Sure.
said to me, take a walk so that he can pay attention to me and notice how I was walking. And then he also videoed that for me so that I could look back at it because my assumption was left because my left side felt weird, my assumption was that I was also walking strangely. And because I thought I was walking strangely, I was afraid to run because I thought that I would cause an injury and I might land on my foot incorrectly, etc. And he proved to me very quickly that I was actually walking and running quite well, although I wouldn't call it a run, I'd call it a jog more than anything. And I wanted to learn how to run across the road in case there was a car coming and I need to get to the other side. That's as much running as I wanted to do. Is biomechanics, from your understanding, something that is focused on in the traditional physical therapy, occupational therapy, rehabilitation space?
So what I've learned through this whole process with Anna is sports medicine should be utilized in stroke patients more often. Breaking down people as they come out of strokes and sending them to traditional physical therapy or what I call neuro rehab, because this is a neurological injury. There's so many things going on. They're trying to address you getting up, getting out of bed, looking at just the day-to-day function. But once you start to essentially achieve day-to-day function, now we got to look at another level. And sometimes I feel like that's when they want to discharge right away. Oh, you've achieved all these goals. You can get out of bed. You can brush your teeth. You can, and so they're done with you. So they want to discharge you. Yeah,
the bare minimum and the plateau.
Goals. Yeah. So
and do you feel like the goals that are set quite low? The bar is quite low.
I was shocked. I went to 3 advanced physical therapy sessions and they were like, oh, she's doing so good. I'm like, she is, yes, but
it's pretty minimal.
I was like, we are just scratching the surface, friends. We've got way more to achieve. Her gait was, I don't know how many videos of her gait I have. I have almost 30 videos of her gait from when we started to where she is now. And, I'm still picking her apart because I don't like it. And I don't like this and I don't like that. And we can change this. And if we strengthen her hip muscles here, will she be more efficient in her gait? Yes. But to be honest with you, Bill, if I gave them some of the stuff that her physical therapist to my student athletes, to my coaches, they would be embarrassed and I would probably lose my job because it's just not enough. It's not enough. We got to do more. We got to make them more efficient, better athletes. So if you take a stroke patient and model an athletic model after them, here we are. We're going to get bigger, faster, stronger.
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
I hear you. So, Anne, now looking back on your experience with your recovery, how would you say, at what level would you say your walking ability was? So from 1 to 10, 10 being amazing and 1 being needs a tremendous amount of work, where do you think you were when you were discharged and they gave you the all clear to go home, so to speak?
Oh, maybe a 2 at the most.
Right. Okay.
Maybe.
At the time, were you comfortable going home in that state?
I was, Bill, because I have Nick with me, and he has been a tremendous help, and he really watches out for me. If I didn't have Nick or somebody to help me, there's no way I could be by myself or home.
Right. And then your say Nick isn't home. Is he ever at home, not at home, and you're at home alone? Was he ever in a situation where he needed to leave you alone?
Sometimes he does, yes. Not very often and not very long, but sometimes he does, yes.
And when Nick had left you alone, what's your movements like at home? Are you sitting in the chair and waiting for him to come home, or are you confident to get up and go to the bathroom and get back to your chair?
I can get up. I'm confident to get up, go to the kitchen, go to the bathroom, but I don't go very far.
Yeah. And was that the case when you were originally discharged? Were you confident in being able to move about the house on your own without Nick?
I didn't know
Yeah.
because I was confined to the bed.
Uh-huh. So even though you went home, your condition was, the state of your condition was that you were still confined to your bed.
Correct. Right, Nick?
That's correct.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Okay.
Minimal movement.
Minimal.
Right. Okay. So you went home and really Nick had all the work to do. He had to make
Yes.
sure that you were sorted in every way, shape, and form, which would have been a difficult task because he wouldn't have had all the resources available to him either. All the moving apparatuses, all the things to get you in and out of bed, to transfer you from one position to another. He may not have had all of that available to him. Is that right?
Did we have that, Nick?
We did.
We did, Bill.
The
Nick.
hospital provided a Hoyer lift, wheelchairs, and the physical therapists were a big help in guiding us to get her to walk again.
Uh-huh. Okay. So there was some involvement. Now, you're 73 at the moment, or were you 73 when all this happened?
I was 70 when all this happened.
Okay. Now, I want to get a sense of how you feel about your age and the time that it happened. Do you think your age is playing a role in that whole, I can't do this or I can't do that, or this is not possible for me? Do you think you had an ageist approach to your recovery? And did the other people that were supposed to be caring for you and sent you home, do you feel that they treated you differently because you were older than them, perhaps?
I can't speak for them, but yes, I think that's true for me, yes. Because, as you get older, you just expect that, your life is going to change and things are going to happen and you're not going to be as strong as you were 40 years ago or whatever.
And are you resigned to the fact that you're getting weaker, and therefore, as a result, you also may be getting sicker, and then it's just part of the process, part of life.
Yes.
Interesting. Molly,
Huh.
you're shaking your head. You're shaking
No,
your head.
she's not buying that at all.
Yeah. Tell us about that, because that's a massive thing, right? You hear about it. My mum and dad are my mum's in her late 70s. My dad is in his early 80s. And what I get from them is, and some of it is legitimate. It's a bit of a pain because, the older you get, pains creep in and this happens and that
Yeah.
happens. They're pretty up and about. My mum's just had hip surgery and she's doing really well. But there is a mentality that is decline is inevitable and we shouldn't fight
Yes.
decline. We should just accept decline as something that's going to happen. And I think that setup then creates the out for those therapists who are lacking funding, who are lacking passion, who are lacking resources to go, you're already on the way out. Why don't we
Yeah.
cut
Yes.
ties with you and move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and this is just my opinion, Bill, but it bothers me tremendously that the insurance companies run the healthcare system. You know, if your insurance won't pay, or, you know, you get so many visits, and then when your insurance is done with the visits, you're done. Whether you're done or not, they're done with you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a whole different topic.
It is. It is. That's a common complaint. I'm 50 this year. We're going to talk about everyone's age. Molly, how old are you?
38.
Do you think 38, do you think your age is the reason why you're so positive and so confident that you can restore function to somebody, or and your lack of experience because you're only 38? Like, how is it that you're complete the opposite to the experience that Anne's had, as far as what you think is possible for somebody who's 70?
Oh, I think age has no discrimination. You can be as active as you can be up to the day you exit this world. You know, I I see people that play golf. I'm a huge golfer, and they're in their 90s and they're thriving and they're playing golf 3 times a week and they're having a great time. Yes, they have their ailments. You're 90. Things are not going to move like they used to. No, get it.
Right.
We get it. Yeah, we know that. But if you stay active, we know this by science, you're going to decrease the amount of aging that you do.
Uh-huh.
And this is all the root of the problem is if they're not out doing things, the aging process is going to happen 10 times faster.
Uh-huh.
You leave people alone, you don't rehab them appropriately, you let them essentially just disintegrate in front of you, guess what's going to happen? They're going to
disintegrate. Yep.
Yeah, this is not okay. And, you know, in the States here, we have silver sneakers now. And here at the university, we have people that walk and work out every day, and they're in their 80s, 90s. I mean, I see those people and I'm like, they're doing it right. They're staying active. Yes, they're still aging, but they don't feel like, if you compare two 90-year-olds, one that does something and the other one that does nothing. So you can prevent your visit to the nursing home by staying active.
Yeah, you can play a big role in keeping yourself out of the nursing home for as long as possible, and also being more stable on your feet, and also being more active in the brain, and continuing to heal and recover and rehabilitate. Now, in my book, I've written a chapter on exercise, and because I'm kind of somebody who likes to avoid exercise if I can, even though I do go, I forced myself to go to the gym today. Molly, you'll be happy to know.
Thank you. Good job.
But
so did I.
Well, congratulations, Anne. Thank you. Mine was about a 35, 40-minute session. And what I learned while I was writing the book, was that exercise doesn't have to be difficult, hard, arduous, and for a long amount of time. Like, how little exercise is enough to be beneficial, Molly?
So what I always look back at is we talk about master athletes here in the States, right? Anybody that's over the age of 38 is a master athlete. I'm a master athlete. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah. So how much exercise do you need? Well, you go and you look. But to me, it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes of what we call high intensity exercise. We look at heart rates. You know, I've literally taught Ian how to be an athlete. We take her heart rate, we give her exercise, and we tell her you need to do 30 minutes of exercise. I mean, you're going to have good days and bad days with exercise. I mean, it's not everybody's favorite. I struggle with my athletes, getting them out there, you know. But I think you have to set a goal of 30 minutes 3 times a week, and make sure that you're also doing resistance training, keeping your bones strong, your connective tissue, your muscles. Because if you're going to decline, the first thing it's going to decline is your posture. We know this. Everybody's posture is going to decline because of age. You know, you could have osteoporosis, you could have stress fractures, you could have, you know, things that happen to you, hip replacements like your mom, or knee replacements. I mean, things just wear out. But if you stay active, doing the exercise, doing the resistance training, lifting weights, you're going to have a better life.
So my understanding about strength training is that it improves bone density.
Hmm.
And we're not talking about being a bodybuilder. We're just talking about pushing, resisting something that is a bit heavier than you could normally manage. Perhaps
Hmm.
you've got somebody looking over you, what have you.
Yeah.
And also that it assists in removing excess sugar out of the blood and burning that up,
Hmm.
and instead of storing it in the shape of fat cells, which means that decreases the chances that somebody's going to get type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. Like essentially what you're doing is what we call the energy system pathways. It's exercise physiology based, but essentially you're essentially improving your diabetic chances. If you stay active, we know this with diabetics, their 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 sugar levels are not going to be spiked as much. We know that they can control their diabetics with exercise. So as you age, we know type 2 diabetes for some individuals, it's in the cards because of genetics. We know this. But if we stay active, you can prevent it. It's just how it is.
It's simple as that. Anne and I
It is.
suffer from left side weakness. And as a
Mhm.
result of that, going to the gym can be a bit scary because I get afraid of
Yes.
losing my grip on one of the weights and it falling and injuring me or somebody else. So how do you go about giving somebody the confidence to go into the gym and push weights? What type of things can we do to overcome our doubt about our ability? Because I would say my left hand can lift
Mhm.
the same amount of weight as my right hand, but for a much less duration. So if I can get 10 or 12 reps out of my right hand, I can only get, say, 5 or 6 out of my left hand.
Mhm. Going back to Anne, I mean, it was a lot. We took her to an environment that she was so uncomfortable.
Oh
It's
my
okay.
gosh.
You're going to be uncomfortable. It's a whole new world, right? You're being an athlete, right?
And Bill, my biggest fear is falling
Yeah.
There you
because of
go.
my balance is not good. And I know I have to get over that, but I'm with you. How do you get your brain to not be afraid of that? I don't
Mhm.
know.
You do it anyway. It sounds like you just
You
go
do it. I do it
Yeah.
anyway. Yes.
in spite of the
So,
fear.
yeah,
Yes.
you take them to the gym and you show them easy things that they can do. Can they manage the weight? That's the first thing. Just introducing simple things. Like when I came up to see Anne the first time, we went to the gym and I said, "Show me what you're doing." She did. And we just made small adjustments here and there to help
Hmm.
essentially facilitate her to be able to push the leg press machine and not feel scared. I
Yes.
I tell my athletes all the time, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that you can protect yourself, right? That is what we're doing. We're taking you to the gym so you can protect yourself. If you fall, are you going to be able to pick yourself back up? We've talked about this
Yes.
with Anne.
Yes.
I mean, I want you to be able to stay at home, be safe, protect yourself. That's all.
You feel more confident with
So
your
easy.
ability now, Anne.
I'm sorry.
You feel more confident with your ability.
Yes, I do.
What has that done for your mindset?
Well, everything, when I make a step in the right direction, I feel like, okay, you can do this. You can do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But it is such a long process.
Is it also hard?
Yes, it is.
Is it the hardest thing you've ever had to do?
Yes, it is. And Bill, I taught elementary school for 40 years. So that's, this is a whole new ball game for me.
And and if I recall correctly, one of your students was the one and only Molly.
Yes,
So do you feel proud of yourself that you were able to influence the generation of human beings, specifically Molly, who was going to be involved in your recovery from stroke all those years later?
I am so proud of her, Bill. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm probably going to embarrass Molly, but I don't care, I guess. When Molly was in the 6th grade, she really struggled with learning. Academics were very hard for her. And when I found out that she was a sports medicine person, I couldn't believe it. I thought, you've got, you went to Wittenberg and you've got degrees and you've got all this training. I just am so proud of her determination and her effort and her perseverance, because I know it could not have been easy for her.
It sounds like a similar story, doesn't it? It sounds like somebody who wasn't supposed to be able to achieve certain things, and
Yes,
many people would have said she'll never amount to anything. Um, can prove that it's possible to recover and to overcome and to find ways to become
right.
educated, to achieve great things in life. And it's similar to stroke recovery. It's applying a similar mindset to stroke recovery, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I never thought about that, but you're right. Yes.
Because you had your doubters and then Molly had her doubters, but the two of you have seemed to come a long way when you found a new way to approach this, and perhaps not to listen to your doubters.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Do
Molly,
you agree with that, Molly?
Absolutely. We are such in
Okay.
a parallel. It's unbelievable.
Spooky, isn't it?
were you a good student, Molly? And were you a nice student, not a good student, a nice student?
She was very
Oh, well,
nice. I can answer
my
this.
parents
Yes.
my parents are both teachers, so
Ah,
there was no deviating from the academics. But one thing that they did always instill is just work hard.
Yeah, and Molly
Be
is
a
a
good
very hard
student.
worker. Yes, she's a
Yeah.
very hard worker. Yeah,
I mean, it
she's
was
very
not
determined.
easy.
No.
It was not. So it took a lot to just get through the elementary school level. And once I
Mhm.
finally got to high school, it was okay. But college is where I really thrive. And once you find your niche, that's where
Yes.
you really start to I say open up the engines. Now you can do whatever you want.
remember earlier, Molly, I said that I'm very comfortable avoiding exercise and not going to the gym, etc. But I have found some amazing things that occur when I do what's hard, when I go against what my nature is telling me to do, which is, run for the hills, don't come back. It's like,
Yeah.
do what's hard, do the hard thing. The hardest thing I've had to do is recover from stroke. I'm still recovering and it's been
Mhm.
12 years. But the next hardest thing I had to do was write this book. It took 4 years to develop the model and then to write the book and then to get it out. And I'm not academic either. I hated school, and all my teachers hated me because I made their life impossible. And it was because I was bored and I didn't find what was interesting to me and what my niche was. And I was labeled by teachers as, one of my teachers actually said, I wish I could write in your report that you were stupid, and that kind of stuff. So, I
Oh
went
my
through all
gosh.
of that, and
Yeah.
I didn't believe that I was stupid, and I made it their fault. I sort of used to say to them, well, I'm not learning anything that's important to me or that I want to know. It's your responsibility to teach me. And then what I realized later on in life was I actually had to seek out the things that I was interested
Right.
in, and I had to seek out the people who were my new teachers who were going to teach me those things. And when I did start doing that and started to find things that were interesting to me, I made it my passion. And what a better way to discover yourself other than to sort of become responsible for your own learning and to do the things that you love and not expect other people to teach you. Now, for me, it happened to be stroke recovery. That brings in neurology, that brings in physical therapy, that brings all these things that are really important to me, but are also very interesting. And I love hearing everybody else's journey with their recovery. And of course, the podcast is about demonstrating how terrible things are when we start off this stroke recovery journey and how they slowly gradually, at a snail's pace, start to
Yes.
improve and we start to get better. But we do need to recruit amazing people to help us. We need to not give up and find ourselves kind of throwing our hands in the air when the insurance company, for example, says, well, that's as far as
You're
you can
done.
get. Yeah. So Molly, if I could ask you for you to kind of rate the state of Anne when you guys first started to work together in her physical ability between 0 and 10, where would you have her on the scale when you first saw her?
When I first saw her, it was hard. It was really hard to see her for the first time. Well, I hadn't seen her in 23 years. That's the killer of it all. She moved. I hadn't seen her. I went up for a golf tournament and I stopped by their house, and that was the first time I saw her. And I knew right away when I walked in the door what had happened because I could see it all. And then that was really hard to take in because she means so much to me. And like when I saw her, I was like, holy cow,
She's a
rough.
mess.
But yeah, I was like, okay. And then Nick told me that she had just started following conversations when I had saw her in May of
Yes.
2022. And she came to one of our soccer games that
Oh,
September.
it's
And yeah, and nothing had improved. And she was telling me that she was working so hard at physical therapy. And I'm just like, this is horrible. I'm going to rate you like at a 3 because you weren't moving, you weren't progressing, you weren't doing anything, but she was working so hard. And that's what was the killer of it all. She said to me, like, this quad's not growing. And I'm like, and she would tell me what she was doing. And I was just like, this is heartbreaking. Because if this was one of my athletes, I would say, we need to go back to the drawing board. What's going wrong? We need to reevaluate everything because I can't put you out on the field like that.
That's
true.
So,
No.
So you've been working together for a little while now. How long?
Almost a year, over a year now.
Yeah.
How far would you rate the recovery? So from a 3, how far along do you think Anne has come on that journey?
Well, I'll give you Anne's percentile. She says she's 80 to 90% recovered. To me, I'm still picking her apart. I still have way more to accomplish with her. I write her exercise programs for 2 months period. She works out with those twice a week, and then she goes to yoga and then lifts. So she works out 5 days a week. The yoga is for recovery, which are Mondays and Fridays, but the meat and potatoes are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I'm still picking her apart because I'm not happy with it. So to me, it's like a 7 or an 8. She's functional. But is she my functional? No. I want more. I'm going to be honest. I want more.
It sounds like a hard taskmaster. Were you that hard on her when she was at school?
I don't think I was. No. Was I, Molly?
Anne was so good in the classroom. I told my athletes, like, Anne is how I talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm firm, but I'm fair.
Yes. That's it. I tried to always be firm and fair.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Molly, because one of the things that's interesting is that at around the age of 30, so maybe around 20 years ago, I decided I wanted to be a life coach. And I went and did a course. And when I went and did this life coaching course, it was at the suggestion of my counselor and my psychologist. She said, you should be a psychologist. And I said, that's going to be a lot of school. Like, I don't think I can handle that. Maybe I'll do something where I'm helping people, but I don't have to go through 6 years or 7 years of university. And I had been in counseling, say, for about 4 or 5 years by the time I became a life coach. And I started helping people along those kind of how do I overcome myself kind of journey that they were on. And if I wasn't qualified to do the psychological stuff, but I was qualified to teach people the next step. This is the next step, go and do that. And then let's do the next step and the next step. So it was kind of holding their hand, keeping them accountable. And what I realized was that one of the things that I hadn't had was a life coach. So I hadn't had somebody coach me through the steps that I needed to achieve to get to my goals, whatever they were. And I was getting counseling and I was handling my mental health, but I didn't have somebody as a mentor to guide me, to take me through the process of evaluating what I'm doing, giving me honest feedback, and then helping me reassess and move on. And what I did is I ended up getting someone to be my life coach while I was seeing my counselor. And I kind of matched the two, and they're completely different roles. One of them helped me talk things through, and the other one helped me take action and take action steps towards my goal, whatever that was. And then as I've continued helping people through my coaching role and then my recovery after stroke coaching, some of the clients that I deal with, what I realized that we don't have, that normal people don't have compared to athletes, we don't have somebody next to us for our entire life going, you can do this and improve that. You can stop doing that and you'll get a better result. And athletes, even Roger Federer, even Rafael Nadal, who are the world's, even the Joker, Djokovic, who's playing in my hometown right now.
Yeah.
Those guys are the best of the best in their chosen sport, and yet they still have a coach next to them. We are the worst at the worst of our chosen life, and we have nobody helping us to guide us through because we don't see the value in that. So I want to get your sense of that. Like, why is it important to have people with you along this journey, even at the age of 70? Because I assume that Anne's not going to get away with it for the next however long you guys are around each other. She's going to be, whether she likes it or not, made to go to the gym and train one way or another. Why is it important to have people next to us?
I don't know. I feel like I've been in sports all my life, and I feel like, I guess if I could use an analogy, a caddy, right? A golf caddy, right? You need somebody to give you the yardage, tell you like, this is what we should do. This is the obstacles on the hole, and this is what we should do. That's what every stroke patient should have. If it's a social worker, a physical therapist, a nurse, a physician, these people have no idea what is ahead of them when they come out of that hospital.
That's true.
She got her discharge paperwork. Yeah, she got her discharge paperwork. She was sent to a rehab hospital, sent her home.
It's almost like good luck. Yeah.
It literally is. And these people have no clue. And they come in with home health care, they get discharged, they get moved on. Like, somebody has to say, you're doing the right thing. And if that's coaching, then that's what it is. But I'm calling plays to Anne, and I'm saying, like, let's run this play because this is what's going to make or break you. And I think more and more people need to look at strokes and model their rehabs. If it's not an athletic model, it's how we are working with athletic populations, if I could put it that way. I just think these poor people have lost. You lost your left side, and lost her left side. They have no stability. They have no idea. These poor families have no idea what's going on. They have just been put through the ringer. They don't know if their loved one's going to make it or not.
Yeah.
So they're scarred. They're so scarred. So it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of tough decisions, a lot of tough questions, and they're not ready for it. They're not prepared for it.
And Molly, you don't even know what questions to ask.
No, no one's counseled them. So they should have somebody walk in to that room after these people have been diagnosed with strokes and say, this is what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have all the answers? No, but I don't have all the answers. I try to do the best for my athletes and the best for Ann, but I don't have all the answers. That's why we research.
Yeah.
What's going
Right.
to make you better?
We're all wigging it, but you kind of need a little bit of guidance. Like you need to have some hypothesis and some kind of path to go down to try it to see, is this right? Is it wrong? Will this work? Do I enjoy this?
Yeah.
And then be able to reassess and then make another decision and then keep going in the same direction or a different direction. You know, minor micro adjustments to sort of continue towards the goal, even though you've kind of been taken off path a little bit. That's one of my biggest challenges, is that people find the podcast and they, sometimes it's their first source of, oh my God, this is normal, or oh my God, I can do this, or oh my God, I can try that. And it's really strange that I'm the first source for them that they stumbled on that helps them navigate their recovery. And I'm glad that I exist and I am, because that's I think what I was missing, and that's what I was trying to create, not realizing that I in fact was succeeding in creating that for people. And what these stories do, specifically Anne's story and your story, is that it offers more hope. It offers hope and an example that you guys are setting, that perhaps other people who are not 70, that might be in a similar situation, might be able to go, okay, I know one thing that I can do that's going to make my life better. And that doesn't have to be a 5-day-a-week regiment. That might even just be 30 minutes, 1 day a week, more than what they were doing beforehand, and a little bit of guidance in the gym from somebody just to get them on the right path, and then maybe every month or every 2 or 3 months to get that feedback, that coaching, so that they know you're on the right path, or you can be more efficient like this, or you can get better results like that. Because there's one thing about working hard in the wrong direction. It's so shit when you work hard and you're going in the wrong direction. It's so
Right.
discouraging. It'd be good to work
Yeah.
hard and be going in the correct direction.
Yeah, you need a full team. And
You do.
And I mean, the stroke team should start from the neurosurgeon down. You survived the stroke, now this is what we're doing next. And you need a full team of qualified individuals to say, yeah, this is right. You're moving in the right direction. But here's the biggest thing is when they go from physical therapy discharge and there's still deficits, what are we going to do with them next? That's when there should be that relay point. Okay, you're done with physical therapy, but we're going to relay you onto our strength coach.
Right.
And he's going to help you with your strength. And I model it. What I'm doing with Anne is when I went to that last physical therapy visit with her, I literally said to the physical therapist, it seems like we're not going anywhere here. And I said it point blank to that guy. And I said, I think we need to let her go and let me have her. And I took her over. And that's what we do here. We have our athletes go to physical therapy, but then at that point when they're ready to make that return to play, they're not ready to go to the field. They're ready to come to me. And now I start to put the finishing touches on them.
Right. I agree, Molly.
That's what we need. You need finishing touches. They're not ready to resume full activity. They're not. We know that. Like, it's just where we're at. But you need more work done.
Yeah. So, Anne, going forward, how confident do you feel about your ability to continue to improve?
As long as Molly's involved with me, I'm very confident, because I feel like I've made huge gains with her. If I was on my own, probably not much.
Do you think you
And
would
I'm
have?
all.
Do you think you
I'm
would
sorry,
have
go ahead.
would you have accepted the narrative we're done with you. We've got nothing more to offer. Go home and get better on your own.
Yes. And I didn't know what to do. You can't
Yeah.
get better if somebody doesn't show you.
Yeah. That's the challenge, isn't it? It's that whole going back and accepting the word of somebody who might be wrong with what they're saying. And then you're sitting in a situation that you shouldn't be sitting at and suffering unnecessarily because, you're already suffering because you've had a stroke and you've got to deal with all that stuff. And then dealing with something that's not true and believing that it is true, then that's unnecessary suffering.
Yes.
And that's probably the lesson there, is not to give up just because somebody with a white coat said that something
You're
is.
done.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
no one should ever in the medical profession say there's nothing more. Like, there's always another option.
yeah. Well, I really appreciate you guys getting on to have a chat with me. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Bill.
My pleasure. It's a great story of hope and possibility. And Molly, your organization, if people wanted to reach out to you, the general public in your area, are they able to do that?
I'm kind of a hidden gem. I only work with college athletes.
Okay.
So Anne is a very
I'm just thrown in
Privileged.
here.
She's
I
a very
am
we
privileged.
put her on the roster. No, I'm just kidding. She's essentially
I get to travel with the team.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
on the team roster.
Well,
No,
she put
but,
the work in. She put the work in 30 years ago. So,
yeah,
this is the payoff.
exactly. Yeah, she's now
Yeah.
on the teams here.
I love
But
it.
anybody can always give me an email. I don't mind.
Yeah, and I suppose what I'm saying is, if there's a way that we can connect people, perhaps there might be some people interested who get triggered to say, hey, maybe I can improve more. Who would you suggest I see, or how would you suggest I go about this? Maybe you can just say, find a sports therapist that specializes in this particular thing
Absolutely.
in your area, which there will be a ton of
Yeah.
your kind of colleagues in and around the place, and maybe we'll be able to encourage people to go ahead and do that. And if anyone wanted to
Absolutely.
reach out to you, would you be happy to chat to anybody via email and just encourage them and give them a little bit of hope?
Sure. Because I think everybody needs it.
Yeah. Well, you are amazing. Thank you so much. Give our love to Nick, because he's dealing with a lot too, and he's
He
probably
is.
underqualified as well. But it seems like he's doing a decent job so far.
He is.
Bill? Bill?
Come into the screen.
Coming to the
Yeah,
screen.
there's one thing I'd like to add. When Ann was getting out of the hospital, there was more than one medical professional that told me and Ann, in 6 months, you're as good as you're ever going to get.
You won't get any
And I didn't
better.
believe that. And after 6 months, she was not near where she is today.
Good.
Again,
Thank Molly.
thank Molly, thank everybody. It's been a team effort, and she's coming along. I don't see anything is going to stop Ann if she wants to.
I just can't believe that in 2024, or whatever year it was that happened in the 2020s, a doctor still has, I don't know, that they're driven to say that junk. I cannot believe that they
I
still do
remember that. I remember that.
There's more than one that said it.
Yeah. 6 months, and if she whatever she's doing in 6 months is what it's going to be.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And Bill, how do you pronounce
Thank
your
you.
last name?
My last name is Gessiamus.
Gessianis. Okay.
That's it. Nailed it. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bill.
I'll edit this.
Thank you.
I'll put it out there and make everybody aware of it. And then also, was it Beth that contacted me? Was it?
Yes,
Yeah. Say hi to Beth and thank you to Beth, and I'll make sure
I will.
she gets to have a listen. Well, thanks for joining us on today's episode. To get a copy of the book, The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book. To learn more about my guests, including links to their social media, and to download a transcript of the entire interview, go to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. Thank you to all those people who have already left a review about the podcast. It means the world to me. Podcasts live and thrive because of reviews. When you leave a review, you're helping other people find this content much easier, and that is helping them make their stroke recovery just that little bit better. I receive feedback every week from somebody who has appreciated an episode of the podcast and that has helped them in their recovery feel less alone or get some new bits of information that they've been able to act on. So, if you haven't left a review and you would like to, the best way to do that is go to iTunes and Spotify and leave a 5-star review and a little bit about what the show means to you. If you're watching on YouTube, I love it when people comment below the video. I love to interact with people who leave comments. I try to respond to all the comments. In fact, I'm doing a really good job at that at the moment. And if you like this episode and want notifications of future episodes, subscribe to the show and hit that notifications bell. If you're a stroke survivor with a story to share, come and join me on the show. The interviews are not scripted. You do not have to plan for them. All you need to do is be a stroke survivor. If you are a researcher who wants to share the findings of a recent study, or you're looking to recruit people into studies, you may also wish to reach out and be a guest on my show. If you have a commercial product that you would like to promote that is related to supporting stroke survivors to recover, there is also a path for you to join me on a sponsored episode of the show. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form explaining which category you belong to, and I will respond with more details about how we can meet via Zoom. Thank you so much once again for continuing to listen, for responding, for giving me feedback, for letting me know what the podcast means to you. I really appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.